What's up, y'all? What it do? We back with another episode of the RiSSky Powerhouse Pod. I'd like to thank y'all for coming back, checking out another video. Dropped a couple videos over the course of the weekend. You guys have been showing a lot of love. Keep sharing the videos, keep liking the videos, keep dropping comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. All of the continued support is the reason why the channel is growing so fast. I'm appreciative. I'm thankful, as I mentioned in all of the other videos. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. I love y'all so much. Welcome back to the Powerhouse. We chilling. It's 4 a.m. Thursday morning, couple of days before Christmas. I just got off work, and this is what we doing. We just kicking it. I'm going back over the slate from last night, checking out a couple of games that I missed because I was at work. So, it was interesting things that happened last night in the NBA. But before we get into it, we up to 908 subscribers. Thank y'all so much. I dropped the MVP race video. I like to apologize in that video in the beginning. Had a blooper in the beginning. But continued support that you guys have shown with all of being... I'm going to start over. I'm going too fast. Beginning. Y'all excuse that. I'm sorry, man. I'm going to be better. We in this to be better. You know what I mean? So, because, I'm growing, like I told y'all, I haven't been real tech savvy. So, getting more comfortable with the MacBook, more comfortable with the editing softwares, audio, and all of those things. Getting the mic more active, editing my voice, all of those things. So, y'all work with me, bear with me. I'm growing as the channel grows. We growing together, like I told y'all. Y'all continue to support. Let's get into it. Boston beat Cleveland last night. And Cleveland been, pretty successful over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks. They sitting at 19-13 with the loss. Boston moves back to 500 at 16-16. But the most important thing that happened in that game last night to me was in the last 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes, Joe Johnson got in the game, and Joe Johnson came up in the era that I grew up in. I grew up in the era of the 2000s into the 2010s. So 2004, 5, 6, 7. That's when I started to understand basketball, started to watch basketball as a kid, want jerseys, play myself, all of those types of things. Then when you get into 2010, that's when I'm starting to really understand what I'm watching in terms of plays, defense, all of that. So Joe Johnson, he was one of my favorite players because of his body, his size, with the smooth ball handling ability. He was about 6'6" to 6'7", 225, 230. He was a big guard, So with that jump shot, he played in an era where he was always overlooked by players like Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, and that was right. He was supposed to be overlooked by those guys, but he was still a good shooting guard nonetheless. He was drafted by Boston in 2001, then traded to Phoenix in his rookie season. In Phoenix, had an opportunity to flourish alongside Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Rajon Rondo, and guys. Leandro Barbosa was young at the time. That was a great team that grew together. Joe ended up getting his money in Atlanta, and that's where he truly made his money. He earned his money. He won all NBA appearances, if I'm not mistaken. But he had 7 All-Stars. He had a season where he averaged 25. He proved that he was a good player in the NBA. And those are the times in players' careers that you have to respect most, when they get their opportunity and they step up into that opportunity. Big shouts out to Joe Johnson for stepping up into that opportunity. Yeah, so he got in the game last night. He hit a jump shot, 1-for-1 field goals, 2 minutes. I'm interested to see what he can do in Boston coming off the bench. I'm obviously not expecting him to play big minutes or nothing like that, but I just hope they give him a chance to play. He's 40 years old. He's old, so they probably put him in the game just because they were up and, for the fans. However, he was a 2-time Big 3 MVP over the last 2 years, 3 years. So he can still ball, he can still get buckets, and he can still overpower smaller guards. So I'm interested to see what opportunity they give him. Going back into that 2000s and 2010s era, like I mentioned, it was a player that came up that hit the scene fast, showed the league that he was serious, and his name is Derrick Rose. Shout out to Derrick Rose. I'm a big Derrick Rose fan, so I don't want anybody thinking that I'm poo-pooing Derrick Rose or that I'm disrespecting Derrick Rose with my opinion on this particular tape. However, it's been a question looming. He got hurt today, and he's going to be out for 8 weeks. And people, some people are, going down the road of, oh man, he's hurt again, and this, that, and the third. However, I'm not really tripping on that. You know, I understand that in the NBA, you can't really control when that's going to happen because of just the game you're playing in general. So, Derrick Rose, he started in Chicago, hometown Chicago kid, came into the league averaging 17 points, about 6 assists, and he was a good player. And his next year, he averaged 21 points and 6 assists in Chicago. When Chicago seen that he was a special talent at the point guard position, they started to build a nice defensive team around him. A couple of finishers in Carlos Boozer. You had a defensive player in Joakim Noah. You had a wing defender in Luol Deng who could stretch the three. They had Nate Robinson off the bench, a couple of other guys off the bench, you know, the brain spark. If I'm not mistaken, they still had Kurt Heinrich, who was bringing a spark off the bench. You know, they started to build a team. They brought in Rip Hamilton, started to build a team around them with some vets, with some young players who can produce. And they won 60 games in his MVP season. He was the youngest MVP. He averaged 25 points, 7.7 assists, 4.1 rebounds, and a steal. He showed that he was the real deal. Derrick Rose out of Chicago. Unfortunately, we all know that he came down with the ACL the very next season. He only played 39 games where he was averaging 22 points and 7 assists. Well, nearly 8 assists, really. But with that being said, coming off of the injury, he never really showed that he can get back to an all-star level. He proved that he was still a productive player, that he was still a good player, that he could still give a good team good production. However, with that being said, he never had the opportunity to get back to that level, even if he had the opportunity, his body never allowed him to. The most games he played was 66 in New York. He played 66 in Chicago, then played 64 in New York the first time he was in New York. And since then, he's been 50 games or less every season. We love Derrick Rose. He's a fan favorite. I'm a big fan of Derrick Rose. But the question is, do we think Derrick Rose is a Hall of Famer? Now, obviously, I want you guys to leave your comments and your comments and opinions in the comment section. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from when I say I don't believe Derrick Rose is a Hall of Famer. I do not. I think Derrick Rose is going to be the first MVP of the league that don't make the Hall of Fame, just because of the fact that he was derailed. There were some players to make the Hall of Fame after being derailed, and Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway still haven't got in, if I'm not mistaken. But he had more seasons of high level play than Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose only had his rookie year where he won the Rookie of the Year, his second season, his MVP season, and half of the fourth season. And since then, he missed the entire season after that. And since then, he averaged 18 points one season in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. And then he averaged 14 points and he averaged 18 points in Detroit, 14 points in Detroit. Now he's in New York averaging 12 points. So he proved that he's still a good guard. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I just don't think he's a Hall of Fame level guard. A couple of guys that came up in that era that I have a lot of arguments about is Rajon Rondo, and a lot of people think Rondo belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think Rondo's a Hall of Famer. I understand his accolades, but when you look at the course of his career, he was never consistently a top 3 guard in the NBA. He never made a case as the number 1 guard in the NBA. At his best was 2008 through 2012, maybe 13. But in that time, he obviously played with Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. And in that time, when he won the championship and all of those things, he won a championship as a role player. He averaged 10 points and 5 assists. Then he had his big seasons in 09, 10, and 11. But once Boston traded Paul and Garnett and Ray Allen went to Miami, they tried to build a team around Rondo, and it didn't work. The very next year, he only played 39 games, then 30-something games, and he derailed from there. And it's the same thing with Derrick Rose. So I don't believe those guys are Hall of Famers. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think in the comment section if those guys are Hall of Famers. And it's just cool to just have conversations like this, just because when you get to the voters, we already know, like, if you're a fan favorite like Tracy McGrady, or it really don't matter what we think, really. So I just want to give my opinion just because of the simple fact that I think that you don't have to always fall into the guarantee of what you think things should be. If you just feel like everybody think Derrick Rose is a Hall of Famer and we should just give him the nod just because of that simple fact, then I highly disagree with that analysis. I just think you have to really truly evaluate his career. To be a Hall of Famer, you need at least 5 to 7, maybe 8 or 9 consecutive seasons of elite play. and Derrick Rose reached a high ceiling in a fast time. And because of that, a lot of people feel like he deserved it simply because of the MVP. But he got an MVP in his third season. So, you know, you got to be on the lookout for those things. A couple of other games that went down last night. Orlando got a win over Atlanta. We got to start questioning what we think about Atlanta. We know a lot of players are in and out and a lot of things going on, but we had high expectations for Atlanta team who's underachieving thus far. Like I mentioned, Boston got the win over Cleveland. Cleveland, I hope they can get out of this hole. Good job, Boston, getting back to 500. Milwaukee got a win over Houston. I'm so anxious to see Giannis get back on the floor, man. Giannis needs to get back on the floor. And that's just what I feel, man. I know the protocols and all of those things, but the Bucks is the deep team, and they're proving how good they truly are. Chris Middleton had 23. Noora got a start last night. He shot terrible, but he had 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. So I appreciate his aggressiveness with 18 points. Drew Holiday gave him 24 points, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds. So he's doing a good job of facilitating the offense. Wesley Matthews gave him 16 points off the bench. So good job from Wesley Matthews, shooting 4 for 5 from 3, 6 for 7 from the field, giving the team production that he just got on last night. Basically, he got on the team last week, realistically, but you know what I mean. He just got there. He get another chance. He was on the Lakers last year, didn't have a great year, but back in Milwaukee, where he was good before he got to the Lakers, and Milwaukee understand what he is as a player. Respect. OKC got a win over Denver. Denver just couldn't get out the gate. Denver couldn't get it going at any point in time. They only scored 18 points in the first quarter. They tried to get it back in the second, but in the third they only scored 14. So they were just lacking consistency, and with a lot of players missing out of their lineup, with Jokic having to be the heliocentric center of everything going on the floor for every play. He shot 5 for 9 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. He had 13 points, but his effectiveness just wasn't there because of the simple fact that double team was forcing the ball out of his hands and teammates wasn't stepping up. OKC had, 6 players in double figures. Shai Gilgeous gave him 27 points, 12 assists, 10 rebounds, monster triple-double from Shai. So, man, that boy Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just showing how he can make a team competitive. And when he's on the floor, they're a better team, clearly. So, Shai earning the money, man. Good job from Shai. The Clippers got a win over the trash Kings. Man, I hate the Kings organization. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think the Kings have never made good decisions in the entirety of my lifetime. As much as I've been watching basketball, the Kings have never been good. I started watching basketball and understanding basketball after the Chris Webber era. So the Kings, man, I just can't find a passion for the Kings, man. I just can't. They trash as an organization. Not just players. They can have good players. Like Tyrese Halliburton can go somewhere else and flourish and be a great guard. But with the Kings, bro, it's just gonna be mediocrity no matter what. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the Kings. Hey, Sacramento fans, y'all are tough fans. Y'all are loyal fans and consistent. That's why you just can't. You gotta respect people from Sacramento. But I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. You see that? Made in Norfolk. I'm from Norfolk. You see what I'm saying? So that's on the far East Coast. I don't care about the Sacramento Kings, and that's just my personal opinion. If you want to know my team, I don't have one. I have 29 NBA teams, and it's everyone but the Kings. No, I'm just joking, man. I don't really like every franchise, but we can have a conversation about each one, and I'll let you know what I feel about it as a total organization in its entirety of its lifetime for me knowing them, So, yeah, that's just my slate that I have for the day. Good to see Joe Johnson back on the court. Derrick Rose out for 8 weeks for the New York Knicks. Kemba getting back on the court. He had a big game last game. Let's just see how New York, if maybe it can spark some young players to get opportunity and change the team around, turn the win-loss column around. Never know. This is the RiSSky Powerhouse. I'd like to thank y'all for getting to the end of the video. If you have, the watch time is really, really appreciated. I want y'all to leave a like if y'all made it this far. If you new, subscribe. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all will see me later.